Respect is something we all crave, yet many people unknowingly sabotage it through their daily habits. Have you ever felt ignored in conversations? Do people dismiss your opinions or fail to take you seriously? It might not be them, it might be you. Respect isn't given freely. It's earned through the way you present yourself, the way you speak, and the way you handle situations. If you notice people disregarding you, talking over you, or simply not valuing your presence, chances are you're guilty of one of these habits. Let's break down common behaviors that make people respect you less. By the way, if you enjoy deep, thought-provoking insights on Stoicism, self-improvement, and navigating life with wisdom, you'll love my free newsletter. Every Sunday, I share powerful lessons, controversial truths, and practical strategies to help you level up, all for free. Want to join? Sign up using the link below and start receiving value-packed content straight to your inbox every week. And if you're a brand looking to sponsor my content and reach a highly engaged audience, feel free to reach out via my email in the description. Let's create something impactful together. 1. Bragging about yourself. Confidence is quiet. Insecurity is loud. The more you try to impress people, the less impressive you seem. Have you ever noticed how the people who brag the most are usually the least accomplished? The guy who constantly talks about how much money he makes. The friend who can't stop flexing their achievements. Deep down, they're not seeking admiration. They're begging for validation. And the irony, the harder you try to prove your worth, the less people actually respect you. I once met a guy at a networking event who wouldn't shut up about his six-figure business and all the VIPs he supposedly knew. He boasted about luxury vacations and expensive watches, but when it came time to actually demonstrate his expertise, he crumbled. People saw through it. The real heavy hitters in the room, they barely spoke about themselves. They asked questions, listened, and let their quiet confidence do the talking. Here's the truth. People respect results, not words. If you're truly successful, others will notice without you having to spell it out. The moment you start listing your achievements unprovoked, you've already lost the battle for respect. If you want to be admired, let your actions and presence speak for themselves. Because the most powerful person in the room isn't the one making the most noise. It's the one who doesn't need to. Why do people brag? The psychological trap. Bragging is often a response to insecurity. Many people feel they need to prove their worth because they fear they aren't good enough. Social media has only worsened this, turning life into a constant competition of who has the best highlight reel. When you brag, you're actually signaling a need for approval. People don't respect those who need validation to feel secure. Instead, they respect those who operate with quiet confidence. The most powerful individuals let their actions do the talking. Think about the great leaders and thinkers of history. How often did they go around listing their accomplishments? Rarely, because real power doesn't beg to be recognized. How bragging backfires. You might think that talking about your successes makes you look impressive. In reality, it often has the opposite effect. Here's how. It alienates people. No one enjoys listening to someone constantly talk about themselves. It turns conversations into one-sided monologues. It makes you seem insecure. Confidence is about knowing your worth without needing others to validate it. Bragging screams insecurity. It attracts the wrong kind of people. If your success is your entire personality, you'll only attract people who care about status, not genuine connection. It creates pressure. When you constantly talk yourself up, you set expectations that you may not be able to meet. This can lead to embarrassment when reality doesn't match your words. The art of subtle confidence. So, if bragging makes people respect you less, how do you earn respect instead? Here's what works. Show, don't tell. If you're great at something, people will notice without you announcing it. Your work should speak for itself. Let others bring up your achievements. If someone else praises you, it comes off as more authentic than self-promotion. Ask more, talk less. The most respected people in any room are the best listeners. People admire those who genuinely engage and make others feel important. Stay humble. The more successful you become, the less you need to talk about it. The people who truly matter will already know. Real-world examples. Consider two types of people, the loud bragger and the quiet achiever. Think about athletes like Michael Jordan. Did he go around constantly boasting? No, he let his performance do the talking. Now compare that to people who talk endlessly about their potential but never back it up. The difference is obvious. Another example. In business, the most respected CEOs don't need to constantly remind people of their status. Instead, they focus on action, results, and impact. Those who do the opposite, endlessly posting about their achievements, often lose credibility. The takeaway. Bragging isn't just annoying, it actively works against you. If you want to be respected, let your success be seen, not heard. People admire those who operate with quiet confidence, who don't seek approval, and who let their work speak for itself. The strongest presence in any room isn't the person making the most noise, it's the one who doesn't need to. 2. Dressing poorly or neglecting grooming. How you present yourself matters. If you look sloppy, people assume your life is sloppy too. Whether you like it or not, people judge you based on appearance. It's not about wearing designer clothes or following the latest fashion trends. It's about self-respect and discipline. How you take care of yourself reflects how you handle other areas of life. Think about it. If someone walks into a meeting with wrinkled clothes, unkempt hair, and scuffed shoes, what's the first impression? They might be brilliant, but they've already lost credibility before speaking. On the other hand, someone who is well-groomed with clean and properly fitted clothes commands instant respect without saying a word. I once knew a guy who was incredibly intelligent. He had big ideas and the skills to back them up, but he refused to care about his appearance. He'd show up to business meetings in stained t-shirts and unkempt hair. He assumed his work would speak for itself, but people never took him seriously. It wasn't long before opportunities stopped coming his way. Meanwhile, others who were less talented but presented themselves well got ahead. The truth is, no one wants to do business with someone who looks like they don't have their life together. If you can't take care of yourself, why should anyone trust you to take care of anything else? Dressing well and maintaining good grooming habits isn't about vanity. It's about respect. Respect for yourself and for the people you interact with. When you present yourself well, people assume you're competent, reliable, and disciplined. And when you don't, they assume the opposite. Want to be taken seriously? Make sure your appearance aligns with the level of respect you want from others. Because, like it or not, first impressions matter more than you think. The impact of appearance extends beyond professional settings. It affects social interactions, relationships, and even self-perception. Studies have shown that people who dress well and groom themselves properly exude more confidence. This confidence translates into better opportunities, stronger networks, and increased influence. Take a moment to reflect on individuals you admire, whether they are business leaders, athletes, or public figures. Most of them prioritize self-care and presentation. Even the most casual dressers maintain a polished look that shows they value themselves. I remember a time when I underestimated the power of appearance. I used to believe that skills and personality were all that mattered. But one day, I attended a networking event dressed too casually. I felt out of place next to people who had put effort into their looks. No one took me seriously, and conversations didn't flow as smoothly. The next time, I dressed appropriately, and the difference was undeniable. People engaged with me more, and I left the event with valuable connections. People often argue that appearance shouldn't matter. Ideally, it shouldn't, but reality says otherwise. Humans are visual creatures. In the first few seconds of meeting you, people form judgments about your competence, reliability, and status, all based on how you look. Dressing well doesn't mean you need expensive clothes. It means wearing clean, well-fitted, and occasion-appropriate outfits. It means having good hygiene, clean nails, fresh breath, well-maintained hair. A polished look signals discipline and attention to detail, qualities that command respect in every sphere of life. If you want to be respected, take ownership of your image. Treat your appearance as an extension of your mindset. If you look put together, people will assume you have your life together. And once you establish that perception, opportunities, connections, and respect will follow naturally. 3. Oversharing personal problems. There's a fine line between being open and dumping your emotional baggage onto others. Sharing personal struggles with close friends or family members is normal, but constantly unloading your problems on acquaintances, colleagues, or even strangers can make you appear emotionally needy and unstable. People respect those who manage their difficulties with grace, not those who turn every conversation into a therapy session. Oversharing often stems from a deep need for validation or sympathy. It feels good in the moment to have someone listen and offer comfort, but it comes at a cost. When you regularly air out your personal issues, people start to see you as emotionally draining rather than someone they admire or respect. Instead of being viewed as resilient, you might be perceived as someone who lacks emotional control. I once worked with a guy who had a habit of sharing every single struggle in his life. Whether it was his financial troubles, his failed relationships, or even minor inconveniences like his coffee order being wrong. At first, people were sympathetic, but over time they started avoiding him. He didn't realize that his constant venting was pushing people away. No one wants to be around someone who brings negativity into every conversation. Eventually, he found himself isolated, not because people didn't care, but because they were exhausted from constantly being his emotional crutch. Respect comes from the way you handle your problems, not from the problems themselves. If you're always talking about your hardships, people will assume you can't handle them. On the other hand, if you maintain a strong, composed demeanor, even during tough times, people will admire your resilience. This doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions or never seek support. It means being mindful of when, where, and with whom you share. Some of the most respected people in history endured unimaginable struggles, but chose to carry themselves with dignity, inspiring others instead of burdening them. A simple rule to follow: if someone hasn't explicitly asked about your personal problems, don't dump them onto them. Learn to differentiate between venting and discussing. Venting is a one-sided emotional release, while discussing is a balanced exchange where both parties contribute. If you find yourself always talking about your issues without considering the other person's emotional bandwidth, you're oversharing. Additionally, consider the frequency. If you're bringing up your problems in every interaction, people will eventually tune you out. Another important aspect is knowing your audience. Telling your best friend about your breakup is different from telling your co-worker or a casual acquaintance. Not everyone needs to know what's going on in your life. The more you selectively share, the more people respect you. It signals that you have emotional intelligence and understand boundaries. Some people may even use your oversharing against you, twisting your vulnerabilities for gossip or manipulation. Guarding your personal struggles makes you less susceptible to such exploitation. The strongest people aren't those who never struggle. They're the ones who struggle in silence, solve their problems, and keep moving forward. If you want respect, show people that you can carry your own weight. Handle your issues privately. Seek help when necessary. But don't let your struggles define every interaction you have. Because at the end of the day, people respect those who can endure without constantly seeking external validation. Instead of oversharing, channel your challenges into growth. Develop resilience, practice emotional discipline, and focus on solutions rather than dwelling on problems. People admire those who rise above difficulties, not those who make their burdens the centerpiece of every conversation. By learning to navigate struggles with composure, you naturally command more respect and influence in any social or professional setting. 4. Being overly emotional in conflicts. Conflicts are inevitable, but how you handle them determines whether people respect you or see you as weak. When you let emotions take over, yelling, crying, or becoming defensive, you lose control of the situation. Emotional outbursts don't make people take you seriously. They make you seem irrational and incapable of handling pressure. I once had a colleague who would explode whenever there was a disagreement. Instead of calmly addressing the issue, she would raise her voice, make personal attacks, and even storm out of meetings. At first, people were patient with her, but over time, they started avoiding her. It wasn't that she was always wrong. Sometimes she had valid points, but her inability to control her emotions made people dismiss her opinions entirely. Emotional intelligence is key to maintaining respect. People admire those who can stay calm under pressure, articulate their thoughts clearly, and resolve conflicts logically. If you get overly emotional, you give others power over you. They see your emotions as a weakness and may even manipulate you into reacting just to discredit you. The truth is, no one respects someone who can't regulate their emotions. If every disagreement turns into a dramatic meltdown, people will start to see you as unstable and untrustworthy. Worse, they'll stop taking you seriously. Leaders, professionals, and highly respected individuals maintain their composure even when they're upset. They don't suppress emotions. They control how and when they express them. A practical way to manage emotions in conflicts is to pause before reacting. If something upsets you, take a deep breath, step back, and assess the situation logically. Ask yourself, is this worth getting emotional over? Will an outburst solve the problem, or will it make things worse? More often than not, taking a moment to gather your thoughts will prevent you from saying or doing something you regret. Another trick is to focus on facts, not feelings. When arguing, stick to logic. Instead of saying, "You always disrespect me," say, "In our last 3 meetings, you interrupted me multiple times. Can we work on communicating better?" This shifts the conversation from emotional accusations to constructive problem solving. People respect those who can argue with intelligence, not emotion. In relationships, friendships, and professional settings, emotional control is a sign of strength. If you want people to respect you, learn to master your emotions, not suppress them, but regulate them. The person who stays calm in chaos always has the upper hand. Another key element is body language. Even if you're calm in your words, your body might betray your emotions. Avoid crossing your arms, clenching your fists, or rolling your eyes. Instead, maintain steady eye contact, keep your voice steady, and use open gestures. People subconsciously pick up on non-verbal cues, and if you appear composed, they'll assume you are in control, even if you feel otherwise internally. Finally, remember that emotional control is not about bottling up feelings, but about choosing the right time and place to express them. If a conflict leaves you frustrated, vent privately, write it down, talk to a trusted friend, or exercise to release tension. This prevents emotional buildup and allows you to handle future conflicts with clarity and control. Remember, the loudest person in the room is rarely the most respected. The one who speaks with control, reason, and confidence wins every time, and the one who masters their emotions masters their life. 5. Giving up too easily. People admire resilience. If you quit at the first sign of resistance, you won't be taken seriously. Think about the last time you saw someone give up on a goal. Maybe they started a business, hit a few roadblocks, and immediately called it quits. Maybe they promised to get in shape, but after 2 weeks of discomfort, they went right back to their old habits. What was your reaction? Did you respect their decision, or did you see them as weak and undisciplined? Be honest. The truth is, quitting is a habit, just like perseverance. The more you give up, the easier it becomes. People notice patterns. If you're the type to quit on commitments, goals, or even friendships when things get tough, others will assume you lack the grit to handle responsibility. And that makes you easy to overlook, easy to dismiss, and ultimately easy to disrespect. I had a friend in college who constantly talked about his big dreams. One month, he wanted to start a YouTube channel. He gave up after 2 videos because the algorithm was against him. The next month, he was obsessed with day trading. After losing $100, he quit, saying the market was rigged. A few months later, he swore he would hit the gym and bulk up. He lasted 2 weeks before deciding he was too busy. Over time, people stopped taking him seriously, not because he lacked ambition, but because he lacked commitment. Eventually, even he stopped believing in himself, and that's the real danger. When you quit on things repeatedly, you don't just lose the respect of others, you lose respect for yourself. You start believing you're incapable of following through. You reinforce the idea that when things get tough, quitting is an option. Over time, this mindset seeps into every aspect of your life: relationships, career, personal growth. Now, let's be clear. There's a difference between strategically walking away from something that no longer serves you and quitting because it's difficult. Leaving a toxic relationship? That's wisdom. Adjusting your business strategy? That's smart. But giving up because something requires effort, patience, and resilience, that's weakness, and people will see it. You know what earns respect? Sticking with something even when it's hard, even when progress is slow, even when no one believes in you. The strongest people aren't the ones who never fail, they're the ones who refuse to stay down. So before you quit, ask yourself, what message are you sending to the world? More importantly, what message are you sending to yourself? Every time you push through discomfort, you prove to yourself and others that you're someone who can be counted on. And that kind of person? They command respect without even trying. 6. Using people for personal gain. We've all encountered that one person who only reaches out when they need something. Suddenly, they're your best friend when they want something from you, an introduction, a favor, a connection, or even just your time. But when you need something, they vanish. They won't even return your calls. We've all been there, and if you're honest, we've all probably been that person at some point in our lives too. When you use people for your own benefit, you're not just undermining their trust in you, you're insulting their worth. The thing is, people aren't stupid. They can feel when they're being used. And let's be real, we all do it sometimes. It's almost instinctive to see someone as a means to an end. You think, this person has something I want. This is my chance to get ahead. But here's the kicker. Every single time you do this, you are silently eroding the foundation of respect that could be built with that person. And guess what? That foundation, it crumbles fast. I'll admit it, I've been that person, probably more than once. I'd see someone who had something I needed, and in my mind, I'd justify my actions. I'll help them out in return when the time comes, but I was justifying manipulation. I was being dishonest, not just with them, but with myself. I'd make a few calls, take a few favors, and I'd feel like I was getting ahead. But here's the reality. Every time I used someone, I felt a growing emptiness. It's the shallow satisfaction of winning a battle but losing the war. And that's exactly what happens. You might get ahead in the short term, but people eventually see through the act. Think about it. How many times have you been approached by someone who only cares about your network, your skills, or what you can offer? The worst part? You can almost see the gears turning in their head as they think, what can I get from this person? It's uncomfortable, right? It feels fake. But here's the raw truth. When you act that way, people can sense it. And it's not just about losing respect from others. It's about what happens to you. You become someone who constantly lives in the game of manipulation, always taking, never giving. And before you know it, you're isolated, surrounded by people who want something from you, but they don't value you. And let me be clear, if you're only offering your time, energy, or help because you're hoping for something in return, you're setting yourself up for failure. Respect is earned by what you give, not what you take. If your primary motivation is self-interest, no matter how hard you try to disguise it, people will start distancing themselves from you. Sure, you might get a few yeses in the short term, but in the long run, those same people will eventually see through your act. And the moment you stop being useful to them, you'll be out of the picture. And that's a lonely place to be. I used to think, this is how the game is played. The successful people I see do it all the time. You see it in business, politics, and social circles. People use others for access, for leverage, for growth. It feels like the norm, but the truth is, it's all a false sense of success. Yes, you might climb the ladder temporarily, but you'll find yourself surrounded by nothing but empty relationships. Eventually, people see you for what you really are, a user. And trust me, that's not the kind of person anyone respects. You know what else? People who use others tend to be lonely. Because once you've used someone for everything they've got, there's no true bond left. You're left with hollow connections, and you can't fake genuine respect. It's impossible. You might get them to do something for you once, but the moment they realize you're only out for yourself, they pull back, sometimes silently, sometimes bluntly. But always, it's a signal that you've lost something much more valuable than what you gained. Here's where the Stoic shift comes in. The Stoics didn't view relationships as a means to an end. They believed in giving without expecting anything in return. The respect that you earn in life is not through taking, but through contributing. It's the people who genuinely help others without looking for something in return that build the deepest and most lasting relationships. The shift from using people to actually valuing them for who they are, regardless of what they can do for you, makes all the difference. When you stop seeking to exploit others, your world changes. People actually want to be around you. You start attracting real, meaningful connections, and those relationships will respect you in ways you never thought possible. The world teaches us to take favors, opportunities, connections, but real respect isn't earned by taking. It's built by what you give and how you treat people when there's nothing in it for you. Using people might get you ahead for a while, but in the end, it leaves you with nothing. No real relationships, no trust, and no lasting respect. People aren't blind. They see when they're being used, and once they do, they'll never truly respect you again. If you want to be valued, stop using people. Start giving. Start showing up with authenticity. Build relationships based on trust, not transactions. Because at the end of the day, respect isn't taken, it's earned. And the only way to keep it is by being someone truly worth respecting.